Hello, my name is Karie Cowden, and I am president of Connect the Dots Promotions in Phoenix, Arizona. And I have called and reached out to Angela Garmon from ARG Coaching and Consulting Group. And with the world and the way it is going on right now, she is currently, for 18 more days, you said, NAVO president for Phoenix. And I am the forum chair for Webec West. And we have been crossing paths for the last couple of years. And I have admired her leadership and everything about her. And so I just reached out and said, would you be open to just sitting and talking and having a conversation? Because I think I'm obviously white. Angela, you're Black.
Right.
And sometimes I find myself completely frozen because I don't know what to say or what to do. And I don't want my silence to be mistaken as not educating myself, but also I don't want to offend anybody. So that's why this is happening. And we're just going to see where it goes. So thank you.
You're welcome, Karie.
For being here.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure for sure.
That's awesome. So we both own our own companies and we're both entrepreneurs and we have teams of people. And I think a lot of this is polarizing at times. And I don't know how to communicate with my team and how to go to market and what to say and what not to say. And there's so many things that I just end up not doing anything because I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. So can you speak a little bit with the leadership training that you offer, how we can interact with our teams, and what do we do, Angela?
Well, Karie, first of all, thank you again for having me on. And when I think about an approach, especially from a team perspective, the biggest suggestion that I would have is just create a safe environment to where your employees are able to talk and discuss their feelings. Everyone agrees that these are volatile times right now. People don't know how to feel. There's always polarity on both, on each side, right? And so you have to begin to sit down and just listen and have those uncomfortable conversations so that you can begin to move the needle. And I would always suggest to start with the values of an organization and the mission of an organization, because that's really the pulse of the culture, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you begin to start there and work your way out, and especially with these conversations. So our values are integrity and respect. And so we want to have these rich conversations that are built on respect for each other, and just to understand each other and just to understand what you're currently going through as a person in this America. And I think that that's the best place to start. And sometimes as a leader, it can be extremely uncomfortable, but I wrote an article not too long ago about embracing the uncomfortable. And this is one of those times that as a leader, it is required for you to step up and just say, hey, especially if you have Black employees, ask them how they're feeling. Don't just make assumptions, but really ask them how they're feeling. What is it that you can do to support them? And don't just make assumptions on what their views are, but sit there to have like we're doing right now, have a conversation just to hear them out and to listen and not to refute.
Right, right. And I think what brought me to reach out to you was that you had written an email out about the silence. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of where I was like, I'm just not going to do anything. And it's like, it resonated a lot with me because it's like, especially if you have platforms, like you have a platform from NAVO and I have a platform from Webec West, like mm-hmm. to not do anything is not okay anymore. Mm-hmm. Something needs to be done.
Right. And you think about it, Karie, silence is really what got us to this point. And when you think about just the series of events that's happened in the United States, and this has been going on for centuries, mm-hmm. And I don't know how you look at it, but, social media has really begun to highlight and bring forth a lot of these incidents. And then you have this accumulative series of events where as a community, we're crying out saying, hey, something has to be done, but no one's listening. And then when you go to people that you believe that, when you look at the people who are supposed to protect and serve you are the ones that are killing you, then, it just intimidates the community as a whole. Mm-hmm. And so, and when we sit silent, and there's silence on both sides, right? But when we sit silence, we're saying that we agree with what's going on.
Right.
And so we have to begin to call it out. And everyone, I do want to say this, everyone plays a role, but everyone's role is so different.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding what your role is, and right now it's creating a platform to have these discussions, right?
Yeah.
Um, you know, for other people, it might be protesting. For other people, they might be so enraged, and so it turns into more of a riot. And
Mm-hmm.
so just understanding that there is polarity, and you will get all levels
Right.
of action whenever people's voices are heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's bizarre to me because just before COVID hit,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter who you are, like that's going to hit you.
Right.
We had an event for NABO, and it was the first event that you were kicking off, and it was so stinking cool, and I was so excited to be a part of it. And you honored us, a few people of different people that I know, with a Women of Vision Award.
Mhm.
And COVID hit. I mean, like a week later, and it was like shut down. We were all together, and I think that was the last public gathering that I was personally at.
Me
And
too.
then it was like, do you hug? Do you not hug? All that stuff. Um, and then to have this conversation now,
Right.
like that layer is also still there. And then you've got this whole nother unrest that is on top of it. And
Right.
it's like, I can't even see straight sometimes. So like, you're a mama.
Mhm.
So when it comes to your kids, like what do we do with our kids and explain COVID? That's one thing. And the
Mhm.
mental health of that and not being
Mhm.
able to touch and feel and all that. And then you talk about race.
Mhm.
I mean, these topics that we're having to have with our kids, like mine are 11 and 14, and it's like, it's so heavy.
Right.
And like, what can I do to educate myself to speak to them so that they can learn these things that are so heavy and so big and
Mhm.
so piled up on top of each other? Like, any suggestions for that? I get emotional about it just thinking about it, because I can't even understand two different things that are going on that are so huge.
Right. Right. So I'm a mother. My daughter is 24, and race conversation started in our home when my daughter came home at the age of, I want to say 9, and it was like a holiday weekend, and I was getting ready. I was preparing her backpack for the following week, for her to get ready to go back to school. And that Sunday, I pulled out what was a folded up paper. And when I unfolded it to see what it was going on, it looked like a note. So I unfolded it to see, oh, who sent her a note? And some kid had drew a Nazi swastika, handed it to her, and laughed. And so when I saw it, I became enraged.
Mama bear.
Who gave you this? Who
Yeah.
gave you this? And this was in Scottsdale. So she was in a school in Scottsdale, and she didn't know what it meant. And so at that point, I realized, wow, I had never talked to my daughter about, racism, about, she is different. And that's when it became apparent to me that, gosh, you know what, even though we're out here in Arizona, race is still an issue. I grew up in Illinois, and I have 4 sisters, 2 of us married white, 2 of us are with Black men. And so for us, we were always in this kind of dynamic community where race was never really a challenge within our family. I mean, we have our own issues, from a familial perspective, and our outlook, or not even outlook, but some of the experiences that we had, and my parents' experiences with racism and different things like that. But this generation, her generation, we didn't think that it would really impact as much. As a parent, I didn't even think about it. And then fast forward to my daughter when um, she's driving to school one day. A white woman calls the police on her and says that she's hitting her with her car. And so they refused to allow Janae to call me. And at some point she got hysterical in the exchange that was going on. When I made it there, Karie, there were 6 police units surrounding her. She's bawling and in tears, and they're treating her like a common criminal. And when you look at we had a big truck, but when you look at the truck, there was no transferring of pay. Like there was nothing. She was like, Mom, I didn't do it. I mean, Janae's like an open, honest kid. She was like, yeah, I hit her.
Yeah.
But there was nothing there.
Right.
No signs, but yet she's being detained.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into mama mode. And
Yep.
so, so having these experiences, and then now at the age of 24, she's now questioning, Mom, what role can I play?
Mm-hmm.
How do I ensure that my voice is heard? How do I ensure that my generation knows that this is not okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, you do what is natural for you, you know? And so just to see her and just to have these kind of open conversations with her, and she is very upset. She's hurt. She
Mm-hmm.
doesn't understand a lot of the systemic issues that we faced over the years. You know, she grew up in Gilbert for the most part,
Right.
Gilbert and Scottsdale, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so she didn't necessarily have some of the challenges that someone that might have grew up in an inner city
Mm-hmm.
like Chicago or Phoenix might
Right.
experience, or even growing up in Decatur,
Mm-hmm.
you know, which is where I grew up. And so as a mother, I would look back, I would probably survey, you know, what are you teaching your children
Mm-hmm.
about racism?
Right.
And
And I have to tell you, the other day, my 14-year-old came up, and I see her, and I'm like, you're a white girl that's never experienced diversity. Like, and that's just where we live. There's not a lot of Black people in our community. There are a few. And we've always been open, love, doesn't matter, and I think my girls, hopefully, I know that they agree with that. And she wanted to do, she the way she expressed it was she wanted to do a dance. She choreographed a dance to this song, and it was a really pretty dance. But it was about like bulletproof, and then, showing the gun. And I'm like,
yeah,
you've never experienced that. And like, I know that that's the way that you're going to express that as your mother, but I don't know that that's appropriate for you to put that out on TikTok, let's say.
right,
And that's where she's getting a lot of this information, is through the social media channels that she's in. And she's upset, and she wants to do something.
right.
I don't even know what steps to tell her to make, other than I almost go into mama bear myself. Like, you put that out there, but that's not, I just don't find that that's appropriate, because I'm like, but then if you say, do what you do you,
Mm-hmm.
what does that look like, and how much do you allow that to happen? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, and I think that those are some great questions that you would explore with her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what does that song mean to you?
Right.
And how does that song, how is that really going to be received?
Yeah.
How, and so you begin to ask those probing questions,
Right.
so that you can begin to, first of all, get her to think a little bit deeper about what it is that she wants to convey.
Mm-hmm.
And then, is that the message that she
Right.
wants to convey? And is that the message that she wants to pop up in her newsfeed in 5 years from now?
Right. Exactly. It doesn't. Yeah, that is so true. So true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then and then I think about Black Tuesday, which last week it was, black out your profile, which if you didn't do, then it was like inappropriate. If you did do it, then what are you doing behind the scenes to do that? What are the things that you can do to educate yourself about all of that? And so I struggle with that too. Like, do I put that out? Because then I need to do something. I need to take action. I can't just black out my profile.
Right. Right.
And so it's all these things that are coming at you. What is appropriate and what's not appropriate?
Yeah.
Because I
And
just get scared about towing the line.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was chatting with another person, and I'm like, okay, so we make an attempt to do something in this moment, right? Because we feel like we have to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's going to happen a month from now?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen 2 months from now? Is it now going to begin to, are we going to go back to status quo? So whatever changes we begin to make, we have to make sure that they're long-term changes,
Mm-hmm.
that it's just not a Band-Aid to cover up what we're currently going through, but it's really taking action behind our foundation, our core beliefs, what we really believe. And so so I would say if Blackout Tuesday is something that you want to support, then on Blackout Tuesday, what business did you support? What
Mhm.
Black owned business did you support?
Right.
So really begin to take action, and then also look at it. I mean, we're both part of WeBank, right? Right? And so really look at your diverse spend. How are
Mhm.
you spending your money? Are you supporting a minority owned business? So really being intentional about your actions
Right.
to make sure that you're doing what your due diligence to move it forward.
Right. Right.
Mm,
Well, we've talked for a little bit,
mhm.
and I feel like we're not done. I
No,
would I would like to continue a conversation and just put it out there,
of
and
course,
anyone that wants to listen can listen.
of
But
course.
I find your viewpoint valuable, and I respect you, and I always have. I think you're just freaking awesome. So if you're
Thanks.
open to it, we can wrap it up today, and then maybe schedule another one, and then just see where this goes.
I love
Everyone's welcome for the journey and the conversation. If you have any questions, let us know.
Right. I
Um,
love it. So let me share this quote with you, and I know I'll probably pronounce her name incorrectly, but it's Vanessa Kingori, maybe, British Vogue. But she said, "Treat racism like COVID-19. Assume you have it. You may be asymptomatic. Racism is the disease. You may be the carrier, but the aim is not to destroy the host, but to eradicate and kill the disease."
well said.
So, and that quote, we'll let it rest there. Yeah, we'll let it rest there. It's
All
all
right.
right.
All right. Thank you for coming on today.
Thanks.